guys, welcome back to the Morse Code Podcast. You're in for a treat today, and I do mean that as a pun, because I got to talk to two gentlemen who know a thing or two about treats. I spoke with Gerard Craft, the chef and CEO of Niche Food Group, which includes Pastaria, Brasserie, Bowood, Expat, none of the above down in the City Foundry, on the day of Niche's 20th anniversary celebration. Gerard was named Food and Wine's Best New Chef. He is a James Beard Award winner for Best Chef of the Midwest. He's St. Louis's celebrity chef and one of the biggest champions of the St. Louis food scene. Not to mention one of the nicest and most humble guys you'll meet. And we were joined by Joshua David Stein, who's a New York-based food writer. He writes Esquire's annual Best New Restaurants feature. He was in town to do a little bit of research. He was checking out Bluebird and Robin. He's also co-written several notable books, including working with Rocco Dispirito, Tom Colicchio, and Jamal James Kent, among others. But he's most beloved in our household for his children's books, including his first, Can I Eat That? Still to this day, one of my kids' favorites. Joshua, Gerard, and I sat down and talked about what makes the St. Louis food scene special. We talked about the life of a chef, and we really got into it. It was a great conversation. I think you're going to love hearing from Joshua David Stein and Gerard Craft.
Gerard Craft, Joshua David Stein, thanks for joining me. I'm psyched to have you in from out of town. We know each other from New York, from the writing world.
Correct.
And you came in town to do research, because one of the things you write, and I want you to talk a little bit about your bibliography, but one of the things that you write is the Esquire top 50 restaurants. And so,
well, not 50, hopefully.
Not 50.
It's Esquire's Best New Restaurant list.
Best New.
So I do that with a colleague who's based in California, Jeff Gordonier, and I travel around the country, and we find the best restaurants, in our opinion, a totally subjective opinion, that have opened in the past, I would say, 12 to 14 months.
Great.
So I obviously do a lot in New York, but it's a national list, so I spend a lot of time on the road.
Yeah. St. Louis has been on that list quite a bit, and you said you're in town for research. I want to jump over to Gerard in a sec, but since we're already talking, tell me a little bit about St. Louis's profile, culinary profile, when you think nationally.
I think Gerard knows much better than I do, but to me, St. Louis is really promising. It's not even promising. The promise has been delivered. It's like a wonderful, I would say, secondary or tertiary market city. And I don't mean that in quality. I just mean it's not New York, it's not LA, it's not Chicago.
Size,
size. Which I actually find encourages more creativity among the chefs and the restaurateurs, because you don't have that crazy, like, asses in seats that you have in New York, where, like, you need to have a burger on the menu, you need to do XYZ because rent is so high, because labor is so high, because food costs are so high, that there's not that much wiggle room to really be creative. Or you can be, like, very well capitalized, but then what about the people who are chefs with just the vision of what they want to do? I feel like cities like St. Louis, Cincinnati, Denver, Albuquerque, Asheville, like all of these smaller cities actually have a more vibrant culinary scene. Numbers are smaller, for sure. Numbers are smaller,
but super unique.
Yeah. So I've been coming to St. Louis for a couple of years for a couple of different reasons. One is restaurant stuff. One is I had a musical project that I worked on out here, and we're coming into the tail end of research for 2025, and to have a one-night quick stop on my way to California.
You should sneak by the bar at Robin. I'm just throwing it out there.
If I have time. I mean, I last time I was here, people recommended Robin as well.
Dude, is
that one of yours?
It's not.
Oh, see,
it's
look
not.
at that.
He used to work for me a long time ago, but just really, really, it's so refreshing.
Okay, maybe I'll make it. I can do it.
Yeah.
I can just have 5 dinners.
I mean, he's worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about that? We were talking before we started recording, and you were talking a little bit about, developing your craft in, no pun intended, in St. Louis, and developing St. Louis as a scene, and the benefits to St. Louis, sort of like what you're saying about a smaller market, and you've got a little bit more kind of freedom. How's that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis has its, pros and cons in that secondary market, in that we don't have, the masses of people every day, and our labor's still relatively high. But we do get more ability to play than other cities. I think I watched New York specifically, although I think like right now it's actually, going through a bit of a renaissance. But I watched it for a while, just kind of like flatline, and I think it's because it's so expensive. You can't make mistakes. You know what I mean? You gotta serve the hits all the time. Can't get too wild, and because it's just, I mean, the financial pressure is so great.
That mostly comes from real estate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, the real estate prices in New York compared to here are night and day.
So that's like, just for me, I don't know if I can hijack this interview.
Yeah, go for it.
But
I
it's
just want to have a conversation. It's great.
Food costs are going to be about the same.
Yep.
Labor costs generally the same, but it's real estate and labor. Labor is the same, and but it's really real estate which is the differentiating factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, no.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, that's kind of what I've heard and experienced going around, but it's good to know.
And the cost of doing business in New York, I feel like, is just insane, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, doing any construction probably costs 2x what it costs in St. Louis, just because of, the permitting and just, all the hassle involved in doing it.
Well, and also because that real estate pressure, it's felt in every industry, so everything's more expensive. Yeah.
So you grew up on the East Coast.
Yep.
You're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Niche Food Group.
Yep.
You've been in St. Louis for how long?
Just over 20 years.
Oh yeah, you just showed
I
up.
moved here just to open Niche.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what brought you here? Why St.
I mean,
Louis?
it was pretty crazy. I mean, something only a 25-year-old would contemplate doing. But I had been out in LA for a bit, and I went back to Salt Lake City, Utah, where I briefly went to college, but then started cooking, and decided I really wanted to kind of do my own thing. And speaking of New York, I had been eating it like Prune in New York, and there was this guy Colin Alvarez had this restaurant called The Tasting Room back then. It was just like really small and very like farm driven, and I had just come back from LA where the produce and everything is like cheating out there, and so I really wanted to kind of do something like small and simple, maybe a touch more modern than like Prune, but still that like small intimate vibe. And so that's kind of how I saw a place in St. Louis that was like wine bar for sale, and now there was no wine bar in this thing. There were like dirt floors, and I was like, how'd you say wine bar? But
potential wine bar.
Yes, potential wine bar.
Could be wine bar.
Yeah. And I was 25, and I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And
wow.
I don't think I wanted to go back to the coast where like fail in front of my family kind of thing. And and you know what? I had a child 6 months later, and it's been a great place to raise kids, and
So all right, years. so your partner, wife, girlfriend, was pregnant.
My ex-wife. Yeah.
Okay. So
Your future ex-wife.
Future ex-wife. Yeah.
So you, where you were in LA, and you were like, I want to get started. I want to do something.
I was in LA, but I had gone back to Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So I worked for 1 year back in Salt Lake City while I was kind of like figuring things out. And actually, a couple of those chefs, Perry Hendricks, who runs One Off Hospitality, like Publican and all that stuff, he's here tonight. We were cooking there. Giuseppe Tentori up in Chicago cooked at this place, the Metropolitan. So it's kind of crazy. Like this one weird little place in Salt Lake City just attracted a lot of really, really cool people. But that was kind of my catalyst to.
So I'm just like, I'm processing the like balls that it takes to be like, I got a kid on the way. I don't know anything about St. Louis. There's this dirt floor so-called wine bar, and like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think having a kid on the way really helped. Honestly, because I'm like, I can't fuck this up.
Yeah.
Like, this has to work. There was that intense fear at that point of trying to make something successful, and it took a long time. It really wasn't always successful. It wasn't like now. Like, we weren't on any like best new lists or anything. It was 3 years before I won Food and Wine Best New Chef, and I think that kept me from going bankrupt. Wow. And it was a total fluke because they were just in town for something else. And, I didn't get nominated by anybody. And
those are like, as someone who goes around and does Best New Restaurants, like, that is the gold. When you
stumble upon it.
When you stumble upon something, or you discover it for yourself. I mean, I feel like so many restaurants, rightfully so, they hire great PR, and your inbox is filled with like, hey, this coastal Italian spot in Dubuque or whatever. It's like, great. But to actually, the joy, the pleasure that you feel on discovering, it's air quotes, discovering something special, like nothing matches that, So I'm sure for whoever who was doing
Nick Fauchald.
Oh yeah, Nick. Yeah. So Nick came. He's like, "What the? This is it, man."
Yeah, he said he was an out of town photographer sitting at the bar, and so we just destroyed him.
Yeah,
like, sent him so much food. Like, he didn't say anything about food. He was just like, "I'm a photographer," and he was the assistant editor at the time at Food and Wine.
Yeah.
Huh.
Sneaky. These guys are sneaky.
What's it like when you're? I was sort of putting myself in your shoes of like, checking out these different scenes, different restaurants, different cuisines.
Yeah.
And it would, honestly, I don't think I would want to have to pick or have to, nominate some over others. And like, do you have a system? Do you have a dish that you always order as much as you can so you can compare? And
you're asking about methodology?
Sure I am, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have a distinct methodology, but I have a sort of internal system of metrics that I use to evaluate. And it like really depends. There's a lot of different factors. Like, where is the restaurant? What is the relationship of the restaurant to the community? By community, I don't just mean like the like community engagement.
Neighbors,
yeah, I don't mean that. I mean like, okay, this is a restaurant from St. Louis. What is its relationship to St. Louis? Is there anything that's being championed here? Or is it a restaurant that could be picked up in St. Louis and it's the same in Las Vegas and it's the same in, Bridgeport, right? If that's the case, it's not disqualifying, but it just has to be really, really fucking good. Because then you have, I keep on making fun of coastal Italian, for no reason, but like, just because it's a thing that a lot of people are, but it's like, okay, if you're a coastal Italian restaurant, and you could be in any location, you're totally unmoored from where you are rooted, then you have to be like the best coastal Italian spot nationally.
Right.
Versus, say if there's a restaurant in Cincinnati or something that like is championing the Midwest through using local purveyors and recipes that they've, they're really rooted in the area. Okay, then you can really only exist there. So then you're basically in a category of one.
Right.
Right. And that is much more compelling to me than the other. Not to say that the other will never win, because some of those restaurants are just like amazing. Not to say that every restaurant has to be some crazy fusion or have some like overarching narrative, because sometimes there are great steakhouses, there are great Italian places, there are great French places. But like that's one factor.
Yeah.
It goes without saying the food has to be delicious. Like there will be nothing where the food is not delicious. But I want to see how the chef is not only how they're executing their vision, but what their vision is. And then when I think about the list, it's like I think we'll have, I don't know, last year we had like way too many. We had like 40 something, which is just like not sustainable. There were 4 of us doing it, then there's 2 of us doing it now.
Oh yeah.
And it's like even at 40 with 4 people, like my personal life was a disaster. So it's like,
how much do you have to eat to
Yeah.
get to 40? Like 40 is
talking
the
about how a lot of dinners
distilled. 40 is
tonight.
the distilled list.
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, I try to be pretty wise, or I try to do a lot of pre-research so I'm not wasting my time and like my body eating things that I'm not going to write about. And like if I'm going on a trip, like I want to make sure that trip is worth my time. So I try to really make sure that there's not too many misses. Usually it's actually the opposite. I'll go to a town or city and I'll go to the place I want to go to, and it might be good, it might not be good. And then you talk to people, they're like, oh man, like you gotta go to this place, oh you gotta go to this place. And sometimes there's like a consensus of like, oh man, this is the spot. And it's not on any list because it's either new or it's underground or whatever. That's what I love. So then I end up eating like second, third, fourth meals a day, you know?
Yeah.
That's how you get the Gerard Craft of the world.
Yeah, but that's really how you get that gold.
Yeah.
To me. And then when you think about the overall list, it's like, yeah, you want a spread of places that are like really high end, like tasting menu, whatever, places that are accessible, maybe a couple of cheaper budget options. Like the list has to have its own internal coherence as well. Like for instance, few of us, no one really like just eats tasting menu food all the time. Yeah. Now, that's not my like preferred way of eating or experiencing a restaurant. But some places do it really, really well, and they also deserve, I think, to be lauded for that. That doesn't mean we're gonna have like on a list of like 25, like 20 of them are not going to be tasting menu restaurants. Yeah. But the ones that are like that deserve it, you know, they'll be on there.
So Joshua was talking about building his list, and I was in the background thinking about niche and your roster of restaurants, and you've done a really nice job of getting that spectrum and getting different cuisines. Is that? I'm sure that was intentional. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we tried to do things that we were interested in and things that we loved. You know, and I think we were kind of like really specific outside of niche to try to do things that were a little more classic, right? Like Pastaria is like pretty straight up, like well done osteria food. You know, we're not trying to break the ceiling at all. You know, we're just trying to do very good food that we like to eat when we're in Italy. Same thing with Brasserie. You know, and I was talking about with somebody when we were opening, somebody's like, Brasserie was our first restaurant after niche. And they were like, so like brown butter foam on the trout? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. You know, it's like brown butter, lemon, green beans, almonds, like, you know, it's super classic. You know, so that we had that kind of like, because doing really creative restaurants is also really, really challenging. You know, really creative restaurants aren't for everybody. either, and so we wanted to have those places that are just like neighborhood restaurants, and I think that honestly, without Niche and without Cinder House, that kind of makes up our group these days. Is just like shit we like to eat. I think like solid food.
I feel like saying to a lot of restaurants where I go that they are the more straight ahead osteria and like brasserie or whatever. It's like, yeah, you're not going to make the list.
Yeah.
But who gives a fuck?
And they're not trying to.
Yeah. It's like, I'm coming to town once. I'm looking for this special thing, but you need to serve your market. And like, I'm not going to save you if you can't serve your market. Not that anyone is asking me to save that, but like a national recognition is not going to save your business. Like having a stable community of people that just will eat there once, twice, 3 times a week, like that means so much more than an accolade.
Yeah. I mean, especially in a market like St. Louis, right? Where you got a smaller market. We're not necessarily a huge tourist destination. So people aren't like, flipping through Esquire to figure out where they're going to eat. You just need
if you're in Nashville, like those guys, like, those lists really, really help a restaurant in Nashville because the tourism's just huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, in St. Louis, I mean, look, the funny thing is when I won Food and Wine Best New Chef, like the guys that were on it in like New York, like got no boost.
Yeah.
I was on like the cover of the local newspaper,
Yeah.
I
mean,
like,
I obviously I track like the mention. Well, I Google myself because I'm a narcissist, but it's like I will see after the list comes out like who writes about it, and maybe places in New York will get like some small mention, but if it's a smaller city, it's like they get a lot of love from the local. Even like Philly, it's like they get a lot of love from the local press to have national recognition, and that to me means so much more than piling on an award to some place in New York, which like already has enough love,
Yeah.
And I think St. Louis has come a long way in the, say, 20 years ago, we really needed people from outside to tell people that we were good. Or not just us, anybody. We kind of loved to hate ourselves back then.
Yeah.
But I think,
St. Louis has changed?
Yeah, I do. I think St. Louis has become a way more confident scene when it comes to the diners.
Uh-huh.
Like they're way more proud
of
what's happening in St. Louis. All, whether, like Nick Bogner's places, making lists and, Menu Rui or, Balkan Treat Box and like, like people feel good about that. And, people used to call things St. Louis good. They'd be like, well, that's good for St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, no, it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like those guys are doing really good food.
I also feel like maybe it's because I've been in New York since '99, so I've been in New York for a long time, and there's parts of it that I really like, and then most of it that is like really difficult to like raise kids, and like it's a real fucking grind all the time. I make decisions constantly based on the financial pressures of trying to exist in New York, and I prefer to eat. I prefer the restaurant. I mean, I'm also not living here, so it's not exactly apples to apples, but I'm more excited to eat at restaurants outside of New York in cities like St. Louis, like Philly. I think it's a great town. Nashville is a great town. Houston, like I find Denver. I think it's like amazing and slept on. I find the food to be so much more energetic, so much more like ambitious, so much more affordable, just like crazy affordable. It's like you just do a side-by-side comparison of the same menu, and it's like, you might have hamachi crudo in New York and it's like $28, and everywhere else it'll be like $13.
Yeah.
So you can get out of a meal here, a really good meal, full drinks, everything for, I don't know, $75.
Oh yeah.
And in New York it would be, no joke, $250. Wow. Like I feel like I can't get out of a restaurant in New York for 2 people without spending around $250. That's a lot of money, dude. It's a lot of money. And now I have kids, and I take my kids out all the time, and they're like obviously a restaurant critic kids. They're like, oh, I'll have the uni. I'll have the
Right.
I'll have the Wagyu. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
dude. Like, have the hanger steak. Even that. Even that.
They're like,
it's
don't you like chicken tenders?
Yeah. But even the chicken tenders. It's like, oh, man. So, it's just more sustainable.
The way Joshua sort of talked about being interested in restaurants and concepts and chefs who are, I'm putting words in your mouth, but sort of grew a little bit organically out of the community, or at least are working within a context that is sort of true and authentic, right? Are you thinking about, like, is this St. Louis-y?
I don't know. It's tough when you're trying to do something new, because you try to balance, is this what people want all the time? Or is this something maybe people don't know they want yet? Is this a different direction in something new? With our barbecue, for instance, we use like way different flavors than traditional barbecue, but it's still like traditionally smoked, ribs, low and slow, 4 to 5 hours, brisket, it's all the staples, but not the same as everybody else has, right?
Yeah.
Because barbecue can kind of be,
Samey.
Yeah, really. Everybody's got a little bit of a twist, but so we try to think a little like that sometimes, but.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's like, I don't think it would be proper and not something I want to do to be like, oh, I am the national food critic. You are from St. Louis. You have to do something which is like very much about St. Louis.
Right.
But you're in New York. And if you're in New York, you can do Malaysian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the sense that, there's this, even within restaurants, there's this like biological essentialism. Like, oh, you're Thai, you need to make Thai food. Or, or you're Indian, you're an Indian chef, you should have an Indian restaurant. Like, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Actually. Like, make whatever food is authentic to you. That might be Punjabi food, that might be Parisian food. Like, it's about you and how you want to express it. Similarly, I don't think there should be a geographic essentialism about cities and towns, that those restaurants need to somehow reflect, need to be about the where they are.
Yeah.
You can also have, but like I said, there's a metric like that plays into it. For sure that plays into it, but that's not necessary.
Before we started recording, we were talking about me coming from a music world, and that was when we met, and I was writing about music. And as you were talking about, going around the country and appreciating these different areas, and I was thinking about it in terms of like musical scenes and cultural scenes. And like back in the day, I could describe in detail the difference between a band from Omaha and a band from Portland. You know what I mean?
But who would listen?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why we are where we are. What I'm wondering is, like, is there a culinary version of that? You were talking about Cincinnati, you were talking about Denver. Like, can you put your finger on what's unique or different about these different geographical scenes?
By and large, no.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really do think the biggest differentiating this is like not sexy or like delicious, but like the biggest differentiating factor is like cost of living and real estate.
Uh-huh.
And once you control for those things, all sorts of creativity can bubble up from all sorts of creative people who might be from there or they might not be from there, but they can actually operate a business that can express their vision.
Uh-huh.
So again, that's just why I'm drawn to smaller markets, because there is that possibility. Whereas like I said, in New York, we have tremendous food, but the stakes are so high that the answer to having a successful restaurant is fundamentally different there than it is in a smaller town or a smaller market.
Yeah.
but I've had like terrific Mexican food in Atlanta and I don't know, Gainesville and Denver and Seattle and amazing Thai, like amazing. It's less about the place in that way. But where the place is important is like what kind of purveyors are you using? Like where's your product from? A lot of the restaurants that I really like are like third culture restaurants, like the son or daughter of like of a Cambodian family. Like for instance, there's a place I love in Portland, Maine called On Litos, and it is from the second generation Cambodian family, right? And so it's like a mix. It's not like pure Cambodian. It's kind of like Cambodian American, also like weird, and they're young and they're like doing whatever the fuck they want, right? Yeah. That is of a place. Why? Because it is a Khmer restaurant based on where they resettled in New England, now expressed in Portland. So like that is an example of, it doesn't mean like everything's lobster rolls. Yeah. It kind of means like it emerges from the community that way.
Yeah. So making a go of it, you got a little, I don't know that it was a wine bar, but you got a business, you're struggling, you're busting your ass. Dude walks in, says he's a photographer. Next thing you know, you're the best new food and wine best new chef. And all of a sudden it's all about you, right? Was that a shift for you from just like making food, running a business to being kind of a figurehead, or was that sort of how you saw it all along because you came from a world of chefs?
Well, I mean, I think it was, look, I was the chef of the restaurant and was it just, chef and owner.
Was it just you, or how big was the kitchen?
Oh, no, so it started with me and my pastry chef and one other cook.
Okay.
That's how we started.
Very small.
But by year 3, I mean, we had like, 4 or 5 people in the kitchen. Yeah. Still not huge by any means. And we had seen some success before that locally. So it wasn't just like we were sleepy until this one thing happened. But that was like you went from just a local restaurant to being on the cover of Food and Wine magazine, and no, I don't think it was different for me in any way, because I was still working the line and cooking all the time, and it was different because we had money. Not a lot, but we had dollars flowing in. It was less scary.
Just in terms, just from the amount of covers you were doing.
Yeah. We just, it amplified our covers. And honestly, I won in 2008. So if you think about that.
Yes.
I couldn't have won at a
worse year.
Well, at a better year, honestly, because I think it's the only reason that we didn't die in that.
Oh yeah.
I think things crashed in September or something like that, and I don't know, right around then, that's when we were on the cover of the magazine. So
was that very present in St. Louis, the 2008 recession?
Yeah. I mean, so I think we got it, a touch later.
Yeah.
It kind of we were the end of a whip. New York obviously got hit way quicker. I remember, going to New York and, I had some friends and mentors there that I was just would go cry to. But
and they were like, don't fucking cry to me.
Yeah.
Take a look at what's going on with that.
It was bleak. It was bleak everywhere, but that really helped us get through that moment. Not that we didn't have tough times after that, but all these awards are it's a roller coaster, right? I think there are restaurants that are created to really stand the test of time. And again, that's our restaurant brasserie, it's we don't change a ton, we do, a few specials here and there, but it's the kind of food you want to eat all the time. But restaurants that are like, I think, trying to push boundaries constantly, you often ride that wave of, I gotta get in something.
I have a question. It's like, do you feel like restaurants have different natural lifespans? Like, yeah, if you have a real cutting edge, let's say tasting menu. Like what I mean is like the highest bar for a diner to come in. It's going to be like an experimental tasting menu, and it's expensive and it's small and, you know, whatever. You know the restaurants.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's a 4-year long project. You know, maybe that's not a 15, 20 year long project.
Yeah.
But I feel like chefs and everyone, of course, everyone, not just chefs, but yeah, they want to extend it. They want it to go as long as possible. And it's just like, yeah, different art forms, different projects have different lifespans. And I do feel like the amount of labor needed to make a restaurant like that, and then the amount you're charging for that, and then as a result of that, how big your market is, like that is not a sustainable model.
No.
And I think what I'm saying is like, that might not be the worst thing.
Yeah.
It's maybe not sustainable. Maybe it's like we're going to do this for 4
It's a
years.
moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I look at Contra in New York, because I felt like those guys, you know, during those bleak New York times of like everything being the same, were always pushing.
Yeah.
And I was so sad when that one closed.
Yeah, but it's like Contra was
That time was over.
Yeah, that time was over. Now it's an amazing bar.
Yeah.
And now they have brass.
Yeah, so they have their brasserie.
But now they have their brasserie, you know?
Exactly.
And I feel like, but I don't know, it's probably the same with you. I don't know if their brasserie, brass. I don't know how to say it, and I hate that I don't know how to say it. I don't know if that would have existed if Contra didn't exist. And I don't know if brasserie would have existed if niche didn't exist. So it's like, yeah, you got to make your name, and you get the accolades, and you show people that this is what I can cook. And then at some point you're like, okay, but what do you want me to cook?
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
that might be
what do you
different.
really want to eat tonight?
Yeah.
And I mean, you were just talking about weathering the crash in 08, 09. Obviously, we all lived through, and you guys especially, it was tough on the hospitality and restaurant industry living through the pandemic. Like, to what extent is that a balance when you think about a new concept between, like, this is something I really want to, this is a direction I want to go in creatively and in terms of the food that I'm making, and then, shit, man, we got to have something that's going to be sustainable.
I think we often have really short memories for pain, and
you can't carry it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, you know, we're like, oh, let's do that. And you're like, oh shit, why did I do that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what goes through our head when we want to open a restaurant. You know, we're a weird breed. I think chefs are just kind of maybe not all of us. You know, there's some that are very methodical. I've never been super methodical.
Yeah.
It's kind of been like, I really want to do this thing, and you know, like I'm really excited about it, and you know,
I think part of it might also be it's like I know it's good. Like I know this is good.
Right.
I know this is good.
Yeah.
And then you have faith that people will be like, oh yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a similar push and pull as an author for cookbooks more than children's books. Like I just want to do stuff that people want to read and buy. I'll do it in my own way. I'm not going to like completely sell out.
Yeah.
But it's also a business. Like this is creative, but it's also a business. I want to make successful products that people want to consume. And part of the challenge, I think, and I'm sure it's the same with being a chef. I'm sure it's the same with being a politician. Not that you're a politician anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a politician. Yeah.
Is like,
well, you got to be authentic, right?
well, how do I be authentic? How do I do this thing that's successful? And how do I change? But how do I do it while still being true to my own creativity? Or morals or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, that's actually, there's a lot of people who are creative. There's a lot of people who will do anything to make something, to make a buck, for instance. But I think the real sweet spot and the really difficult thing is, how can I be creative without losing myself? Right? That's the thing. That narrow overlap takes so much. That to me takes so much creativity.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to be creative without structure or limits. But when you have to sustain a business with 30 employees, or, you know,
You got the kid on the way, and you got to be ready for that. Yeah.
yeah, or like you're a freelancer and like this is what you live doing.
Yeah.
You have to really balance both those sides of your mind.
Yeah. I was thinking on my way here about just the life of a chef, and I was thinking about the roles that food plays in each of our lives, in our communities, and things like that. And maybe one way to ask a question is like, what was the thing that launched you into being a chef? Was it like, oh man, this is like, I can take this recipe and I can tweak it and I can make it 5 times better because like I have a specific sort of creative outlook? Or was it like, shit, I am making food for my friends and my family and I'm watching them like light up when they have a bite?
So when I started, I went to college briefly after reform school, and it didn't work. And so I got a job washing dishes at this, like, say a nice pool hall that served, you know, good food and like craft beers and stuff. And I started cooking with it, and I didn't really fall in love with the food. You know, I was actually a photographer, like through high school. I apprenticed as a snowboard photographer, and that's what I was trying to study in college. So like, and I was a graffiti artist growing up. So like art's just kind of always been my thing. Food was not. Food was like my brother's thing. He was fancy and all of that. And so I just started cooking, and I loved the kitchen. I fucking loved it. It was like a few ex-cons and me, and I was like, man, it's like family. And there was something really rewarding about, you know, just the instant gratification of cooking, you know, cleaning, and like, you know, it's just like, this is what I'm going to do today, and you finish. It wasn't until I went and cooked out in France at the Ritz out there for a summer. And it wasn't the Ritz that changed it, because I was like, whatever. But I went to this restaurant, this guy, Tom Colicchio, who I've like followed since then. He had a place called Le Bon Boche, and again, it was one of these things you stumble into, and you know, I had like 10 seats in there. His wife worked the front of the house, and you know, back then, this is what, like 2000 or something like that, 2001. It was right around like mad cow disease, I remember. But he had like fromage blanc and truffle ice cream on a salad, and it was like a savory ice cream. And he had a dessert that was like a millefeuille with like candied tomato and you know, basil, simple syrup. And these are things that today you kind of be like, oh, well, okay. But back then, like, nobody was really playing with you know, ingredients like that. They weren't putting a lot of savory stuff into desserts, and you know, dessert techniques into their savory preparations. And you know, so it was probably like the early days of El Bulli and stuff like that. And I mean, when I saw that, and I thought that, oh, you can like learn all these rules, these fundamentals, these techniques, but then you can break all of them to do something fun. That's when I was like, okay, I really think I want to do this for a living. You know, I think like I can get into this.
And then you went back to St. Louis, Salt Lake City?
Lake?
Then I went back to Salt Lake, and then to LA, with a little brief stop in New Jersey. So,
Cool.
Where in New Jersey?
White House, New Jersey. It's a place called the Ryland Inn.
Huh.
But were you like self-consciously being like, okay, I'm going to try to improve my technique? You know, like,
Yeah.
did you feel like you went from being like a journeyman cook to being like, okay, I'm going to actually try to be a chef and express myself?
Yeah, I was just trying to, kind of learn all the fundamentals that I could along the way. And I think I had talked about, out of that pool hall, I had talked my way onto the line at like this really, there was this guy named Brian Moscatello, and he had been winning a bunch of awards, and he had just come to Park City or Deer Valley, Utah. And so I was working for him. He hated me. God, he was just like, I talked my way onto this line that I had no business being on.
Yeah.
And, he finally sat me down. He's like, look, man, like, my prep cooks are way better than you, and you're on the line. I can't do this. He's like, you can either go downstairs and be a prep cook, or you can get the fuck out, really. And I think he really wished that I would just get out.
Wow.
But I was like, no, I'll do the prep cook thing. And
You're like, I deserve it.
yeah, and they just like, hazed me to no end. But like, that's where I learned, real fundamental, like sauce building, breaking down fish, butchering meat, even learned desserts down there and stuff like that. So it was like, then from there, you're just trying to get those fundamentals everywhere.
My question is, I'm not a chef, and I've spent some time in restaurant kitchens, like observing, but not that much. Like, how is that knowledge, like say how to butcher fish or break down like a leg of lamb or whatever, how is that communicated to you? Is it during prep you'll have like your chef come down and be like, look, this is how you do it?
Yeah.
Like just like quick, it's not like a seminar, it's just like, I'm going to tell you this once, and I'm going to tell it to you really fast, and you will be in an extreme amount of trouble if you fuck it up.
Yeah, I think there were chefs like that, and there were chefs that really like took time.
Yeah.
With you, Like,
but that would usually happen. This is it's because I'm writing a young adult novel about restaurants. So,
are you really?
Yeah. But like that would happen not during service on the line. Like no one's taking time.
That stuff's not happening. That should never be happening like during service, or you're screwed.
Yeah.
No, usually in prep, and a lot of times chefs would be like, "Hey, come in an hour early tomorrow. I'm gonna teach you if you want to learn this thing.
Yeah.
Come in on your own time. I'm gonna teach you this thing."
Okay.
And and you get to like spend some time actually like learning how to do it.
Yeah.
And,
Also, because that product that they're using to teach you is also a product they paid for, so it's not like they're.
And I've messed up some products.
Yeah. I remember I once did a video for Eater where Justo Thomas, who's a fish butcher at Le Bernardin, which is this restaurant in New York, was teaching me how to butcher a fish. This guy, he's been doing it for years. He doesn't want to move up, and Tony Bourdain wrote about him, and Eric's written about him.
The legend.
Yeah, he's cool. And he was teaching me how to do this fish. And Eric comes in and he just and like, I don't know how to butcher a fish. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And
he comes in and he just looks at it and he's like, first of all, it's like tuna. It's like, this was like $600 of tuna. And he was nice. He's like, we'll just make it into tartare. But like, he was not pleased with the amount of like meat that I left on the,
on the bones.
Because all of that, you think, I don't know. It always strikes me that, not that I'm obsessed with money, but like, I'm obsessed with food cost. Like, yeah, that's money that every bad technique you do is money that costs a chef something.
Yeah.
It's not like regular school. It's like, this is finite, man. And that seems so compelling. And I think it adds like a fire when you're learning. Like everything's high stakes.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's theoretical. It's like, okay, this is how you turn a mushroom. Every mushroom you don't turn right, like that's going to be you in the weeds. That's going to be you at like 3 a.m. doing it again because you fucked up.
So I did do, while I was working, and finally some chef told me to quit, but I was doing culinary school at a community college in Salt Lake. And I think that was, people knock culinary school a lot. I knock like really expensive culinary schools a lot, but like, being able to get, some of your basic skills, hopefully you have a good instructor who cares, but getting some of your basic skills before you're entering some of those restaurants, I think is really helpful.
When you think about like your basic skills, I'm sure it's like knife work, but also like how to handle heat. Like that seems like a big
how to saute something, even properly, how to sear scallops, or like how to grind meat, like these are you do a lot in a little bit of time, not enough to master a single thing, but enough to be familiar when the time comes, so that when somebody teaches you the better way or their way, that you have some foundation to be like, okay, I think I know where we're going with this.
Interesting.
So I don't know anything about anything, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that based on the story that you told and the like a few different anecdotes, it doesn't seem like you should have launched into within 5-6 years this stratosphere of on the cover of Food and Wine and all that stuff. What do you think? What do you think was your secret? What do you think set you apart? How'd you get there?
Maybe it was having the kid. I don't know. I think it was right place, right time. I think that's a lot of it. I cared a lot. I think during the years that I was cooking, I just like didn't have a life and just like was, this is my life. Got lucky to work with some great people along the way, who taught me some things. And, I think I also had, a vision at the time of what I wanted to say, with food and what I wanted to be. And that changed every single year, as I grew up and operated restaurants and stuff like that. But, timing is the one thing that is really hard.
You can't
master
master it.
It's you can't buy time.
Yeah, it
timing.
just happens or not.
Yeah, you spark something at a moment when it needed to spark, and I think in St. Louis that needed to spark. I mean, so many things had to happen, like Nick showing up at our bar, and we actually had 2 employees at the bar that night who I think we had cut because we were slow, and so we were sending them dishes. Like it's a party. And then Dana Cowan from Food and Wine actually called a few weeks later and was talking to the manager and said, "Yeah, I'd love to come in for lunch. I have this thing that I have to be at." She was like a focus group in town, and she's like, "But I have to be there at like 5." She actually used her name. This wasn't anonymous. And this manager was like, "Hey, some lady named Dana Cowan called about lunch. I told her we don't do lunch, but that we'll try to get her in like right at 5 and see what we can do." And I was like, "You should call Dana back and tell her we're doing lunch. I don't know. We'll open for her." Yeah. And we did. Yeah. Like that was a moment I could have not been there, to catch.
But just having spoken to a lot of chefs, you can enter into working in the kitchen. There's a very clear escalator and way in. And it's not that high bar for an entry. Sometimes there's no bar. You start work as a porter and you work your way onto the line and you learn on the line. Sometimes you go to culinary school, sometimes you don't. It is an opportunity for a lot of people who don't have that many material advantages, and a lot of people who don't have, no offense, and I hope great executive function, right? It's a very task-oriented, very clear hierarchy, very clear metrics of success, very clear what's right and wrong, what's incorrect and correct. And you rise up that escalator to a point that you can be a chef. You can be a chef owner. Then sometimes oftentimes my experience, the people I've talked to, sometimes fine dining. That's my experience of people I've talked to, but there's other experiences as well, of course. Then you're in a situation where you're making pretty good money, and you're rubbing shoulders with a sector of society that which you probably wouldn't have access to otherwise, right? And it's like, that's one of the things that I find. It's one of the wonderful things I find about cooking, and one of the challenging things, because there's also a lot of chefs who, you're not taking management courses.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not taking payroll courses. You're not taking business courses. You're not, and also you're in this world where people are more formally educated than you. They have a lot more advantages than you growing up. It's like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
You're also very powerful in this world where historically you can be powerful with impunity. And how a chef navigates that dynamic, I think, really affects how not only their reputation, but their long-term longevity. I'm sure you've seen this in the industry as well. It's like guys who are really talented chefs. That's one aspect of what you need to be a talented business owner and a successful human being.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I have not always been the best business person.
Yeah.
I have learned so many horrendous lessons along the way. And so I think what you just said is 100% accurate, right? You can come you can be this graffiti artist, college dropout that, can succeed in this world, but you're not handed a lot of tools for when you get there.
Did you do you have a business partner in Niche, or?
Originally it was my brother and my parents.
Okay.
Was it. So we opened the first Niche for $300,000. And that included the building.
You own the building?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I mean, I've since sold that one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like that is another huge differentiating factor between New York and other markets.
Now, you can't do that here.
You wouldn't be able to do that here.
For under $1 million
Yeah.
now. But that was 20 years ago.
Now, do you have someone helping you with business?
Yeah, so we have
biz
a
dev?
director of operations.
Yeah.
She's, been with us for 15 years now. We have a director of service who's been with us for, I think, 17 years.
Did you figure out how to build the organization through trial and error, or
Yeah, a lot of trial. I mean, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But, a lot of trial and error. A lot of really horrendous mistakes that could have
we need a director of service.
Killed us. And then through, there have been a lot of great people in the industry who have shared knowledge. We were just talking about Danny Meyer, but, it's a guy who's been a real open book, because of his love for his hometown, St. Louis, but been, really open to questions that I've had over the years of, what to do. And, there's been a lot of people like that, I think, over the years, and not just in the restaurant industry, but people in business and other industries. Sometimes I've listened to the wrong people. That can happen too. You trust somebody who's, a lot smarter than you, or, has done way better in business than you, and you kind of listen to their path, and you're like, oh man, I really shouldn't have listened to that.
Yeah. Worked for you, but not for me.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of trial and error. I try to surround myself with good people in the company who will be honest with me.
Yeah.
And, because I can talk myself into anything. And it's nice to have some people that
It's like, nope.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do that. That people is the key in this industry. I mean, if you don't have the people, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I've learned that, or I've found just through interviewing people, that St. Louis has a particularly supportive group of entrepreneurs and business people, and especially in the hospitality industry. Is that
Yeah, we have a way tighter. When I moved here, I said that the one thing that I really want to do, the reason I want to be here instead of DC or New York, is I thought that if I went to one of those places, that I would just kind of be swimming upstream. People kind of look down on you. Whereas here in St. Louis, like people like really wanted to build something together, right? We were building a restaurant. There was already a restaurant community. We were continually building one together. And we had all these chefs locally and nationally last night for dinner, before our event, and that's what I said. I said, you guys in this room like really helped me live out my dream, because that was it, just to be a part of a community. And St. Louis really has that. And I think people come here and visit and they're like, holy shit, like our city does not have this kind of camaraderie.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I was here a couple of months ago on a scouting trip too. And the amount of chefs I talked to, or even patrons or service staff, I have a list, like a very long list of the restaurants that like I need to try.
Wow.
And like that doesn't happen anywhere else, because it's not like I'm going to be writing about multiple restaurants in one city. So normally you go to a place and, if you're there to visit a chef, they're not like, oh, you got to check out my friend's restaurant.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to the idea that, people are just jazzed for these places.
We want to see people succeed.
Yeah.
Is there all right, so it's been 20 years. You've gotten to the point where you're a very large fish in our pretty small pond. What's the...
I wish I was smaller.
Here's the big question that I'm sure everybody asks, but
Yeah.
you look back at 20 years, it's been quite a ride. If you look forward at 20 years, what's next?
God, I think I'm kind of back in that same place. You're just kind of, I don't know what 20 years is going to hold. We live in such uncertain times at the moment. So I think all we can do is try to, every day I wake up, I'm just like everybody else, one pant leg at a time, force myself to get up, do the things I have to do, face this world, and, try to make a difference, and try to make good stuff, and try to treat our people well. And, I think that's the mentorship that we've had in our company, I think is probably, again, I just recommended one of our old cooks, but, we have multiple people that used to work for us that are, coming to this event tonight. And I think, continually just trying to, raise people up and see them get opportunities and help them get opportunities is all you can do. And then, you blink and 20 years is up, and
Your grandfather.
hopefully it's compounded. You got like, there were only X number of restaurants 20 years ago, and now, St. Louis is crazy compared to what it was 20 years ago. I mean, there's so much good food. Everything from again, the cheap eats Balkan Treat Box is super affordable, to high-end omakase dinners at Sato, and, Robin with these, little tasting menus that are just like perfect. We got Tiny Chef in the Tiny Chef is awesome. You don't have any more time, but it's in a dive bar, and she's just cooking ridiculous, fun Korean food. And I don't know. It's just there is so much of that. I feel bad right now because I'm there's 5 million in there, whereas 20 years ago, that was a pretty small list.
Uh-huh. How about you? What are you working on? You got the YA novel about kids starting a restaurant? Is that right?
It's a novel about it's called Shadowing. It's about a young chef who's who has his father's knife roll, and he's kind of searching for himself through restaurants through cooking.
Oh, cool.
I'm working on that. I just had the Russ and Daughters cookbook come out this month.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And my children's book, Make New Friends, which came out the same day, September 9th. And then what
That
else?
just happened.
That just happened.
Yeah.
And then
Are you going to be promoting that?
Nah,
You
fuck it. Kind of, no. I mean, I love it. It'll do well, I think. I have a book launch and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This year was a busy year. I had David Nafeld's book, Dad, What's for Dinner?
Uh-huh.
Tom Colicchio's book, Why I Cook?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
The GOAT.
Yeah. A book about jang, Korean fermented soybean paste, which won the Beard Award, so that was a big thing.
Wow.
And
Holy shit, man.
then next year, the Stranger Things cookbook.
Stop it.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I did. It's official too. I mean, it's like the official Stranger Things cookbook.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Yeah. That's coming out in January.
Did you pitch this?
I'm
Was it
actually
your idea?
cooler for sitting with you. My daughter's going to be like, whoa.
It was a real trip. Greg Backstrom is the chef who worked at Alinea, and he had Olmsted in New York, and we have a book coming out called Nothing Matters But Delicious.
So talented.
Super talented chef. And
How are you doing? How many of these were you working on simultaneously? Like that?
All
That's a
of them.
shitload.
That's
You're traveling
ridiculous.
around and.
Yeah, a lot of them. And then also Kwame Onwachi's third book
Wow.
called All Hours.
Wow.
So this was a busy year. I usually work in like
Superstar lineup.
Yeah, right.
and now I'm working on Rocco Dispirito's memoir, which has been
Oh,
like
that's
Wow.
got to be wild.
Yeah.
it's wild. It's about.
I
I mean,
wanna
he's a
read that.
great storyteller. He had a crazy life, and a book with Chintan and Roni from Unapologetic Indian. They have Dharmaka and Sema, so that's like a full-throated Indian cuisine.
Wow.
And Jamal James Kent's book, 70 Pine. Jamal James Kent, he's a wonderful chef who passed away last year.
So sad.
Yeah, and he has he had a restaurant called Crown Shy and Saga and Overstory.
Uh-huh.
And I was working on a book with him then, and now I'm working
wow.
with his family and friends to finish that book.
Is Gavin part of that?
Yeah, I mean the diaspora of EMP and like that world, it's all because the idea is that it's 70 Pine, which is this building, this huge building where he had 3 of his restaurants and he lived there with his wife and kids, and it's 66 stories. So it's going to be 66 stories of Jamal James Kent.
Oh, that's cool.
It's called 70 Pine, 66 stories. And so I'm talking to everyone, talking to like, like Will and Daniel and Gavin and, the diaspora of people who worked with Jamal or had contact with. He was like a real super, it sounds bad. He's like a super spreader, but but you know what I mean? Like super connector. Like he made everyone feel so special. And he went out of his way for so many people.
That's cool.
So that's a project I'm working on.
So how do you? I gotta ask this, and maybe we'll cut it. I just want to know what's your process. Like, how do you manage this many writing projects and you just wake up. You don't have somebody standing over your shoulder and saying do X, Y, Z. So you're
No. Well, the way that I do it basically is each of my cookbooks, I try to have someone in the organization who's a project manager. Who's helping me, so I don't have to bother the chef at all times. That's not really the case with memoirs, but cookbooks have so many different parts, so many like you're scaling, you're adapting. There's a lot of task management. So I try to have someone at that organization help me, someone who has access to the chef, has access to the recipes, and that's on them to help me liaise. The other big thing that I do, I guess, is like I'm bad at deadlines. I'm like terrible at them. If you tell me I have a book due, like it's going to be out in January 2027, like I won't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
But if you take like an hour or 2 hours to backfill all of that into like, okay, that means that the manuscript has to be ready now, which means that at X point and 5 months before that, like recipes have to be in, and then okay, if they have to be in, then like you can break it down into smaller increments, And then I don't need to think about the big picture at all. All I think about is like, okay, this week I know I need to get these recipes. And each of the books I work on generally are in different parts. So in one part I'm supervising recipe testing. In another part I'm editing. In another part I'm writing. In another part I'm doing the preliminary research. But I'm not doing the same stage for all of them. So I can really like toggle between and like really get into them. And I have to say that like working on different projects really helps. Like working on Rocco's memoir, having worked on Tom's memoir, having worked on Kwame's memoir, it's like, oh, right, now I get it. It's like the same, it's not the same narrative, but it's like there's touch points of like, oh yeah, here was the chef that really helped me. Here's where I flamed out. Here's where I, it's like it helps thinking about that way. Also, to be totally honest, it's like I need to fucking make money. So it's like I need to do these projects to live.
Right.
So I have like this sort of Damocles like on top of me.
Yeah.
I've tried to write a book before, and
it's hard.
Oh my God.
Did you have help, or were you doing it on your own?
I had help, and it's a long story.
Yeah.
What it went into it, but God, books are tough, dealing with the publishers who want a certain thing. And
the way that I think about my job basically is like I'm more than a mechanic, but it's like I know books. Like I don't know how to put together food, and chefs don't know how to put together books.
Yeah.
So it's like that's my job. So I kind of try to be like, okay, you think you want to do a book? Okay, here's like the process of putting together a proposal. Yeah. Here's what to expect when you go to a publisher. Like there's no reason why a chef would have that expertise.
Yeah.
And I feel like what gets fuzzy or like doesn't work very well is if like you presume that a chef would know that, but like you would never assume that I would know how to, do mise en place. Like that's just not what I'm
Apparently you can butcher fish, but
poorly. Anyway, that's it.
Cool. Guys, thanks. This is
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Especially on such a busy
Really
day.
cool.
You're in town for just a couple days, and you got the.
Yeah, I'm glad
I
you
love
did
it.
that.
This is like
Very
an
cool.
all-star St. Louis 24 hours.